So I'll tell us a little story about how when I was 12 to 13 years old, how I had raised universal conscious the first time, which I've done it multiple times since then. But this was like, well, my first real great big act. It wasn't an act, but at 11 I saved a boy's life, and I was in the paper. That's the first time I was called a hero. Saving a boy that was crushed under a tree, and I stuck a log under the tree so it would stop from crushing him, which they said it was ideally what saved his life. My quick thinking. But at 12, I had, we built 300 out of 400 donated computers that were donated to Hawthorne Junior High School from Corporate Woods, Hawthorne, Vernon Hills, Corporate Woods in Vernon Hills, Illinois. And, I had got tired of people waiting in line to use the one computer in the room to play Oregon Trail and Carmen Sandiego. And there's a whole pod room of storage desks and stacked computers right next to our room that was empty. It wasn't empty, it was filled to the ceiling. But they had hundreds of computers. There was still another pod that had hundreds of computers that I got access to after I fixed all these. But, the teacher, gave me permission because I asked him, I was like, hey, Mr. Sitz, let me try to fix a couple of those computers, and let me, they're already broken, right? So what would it hurt if I fix them? And I'm your go-to guy to fix stuff when stuff breaks. I was pretty much like a student teacher. I was the outcast, so I always stayed alone, because I was country, living in the nice suburbs. My cowboy boots, I stuck out a little bit, but everybody loved me. I was friendly, and everybody's friend. But I had got permission to try to fix a couple computers. So I, plugged them in, and they noticed that they made different beeps, different tones, different flashes. And after, the first few that I've plugged in, I noticed the difference. And even if they were the same model, because there was a different, differences between some of the different PCs back then. They were all thrown together. Hewlett Packard, Packard Bell, Apple IIs. But thanks to Apple, they walked me through how to fix all of them. After I fixed the first, maybe 4 to 6 of them on my own, and found a phone number inside one of them that was, it was a $25,000 a year corporate, private Apple line to Apple headquarters to their service department for the big corporations that bought, lots of computers, spent big money back then. But I found a number, just a little bitty number on the bottom of something, and I said, teacher, hey, he's the only teacher in the school that had his own phone line. We were one of the only rooms, not all the rooms had computers, and not all this is 1995. So at this time, I believe Steve Jobs was not at Apple full-time. He was in and out, but he still kind of ran the place. Still called the shots, but he wasn't there full-time. But anyway, he was coming back in, in this time frame. But so I had called, with the teacher's phone. It was an 800 number because I pointed out, I was like, hey, you're not going to get in trouble for long distance because it's an 800 number, so you have no reason to tell me no. I've already done my schoolwork, so you should let me try to fix some more computers that I have some questions for. I've got a whole list of questions on these computers that I've been trying to work on, and maybe they could help me figure something out, and I might be able to fix a couple more, because they said that every single one that I fixed was a blessing for all the students that got to share that computer, and they only figured I'd be able to fix, a couple of them, not, the 3/4 to most of them. But I did that. So I had a whole list of questions for Apple on what I had done, and they thought it was a riot, a joke at first, that 12, at the first, when I first started calling, I was 12, but probably by the time I got Steve on the phone, I was 13. Because it was the school year, so turned birthdays, eighth grade, Vernon Hills, Illinois. They helped me, and they told me whatever questions I had for the, it was DOS back then. So, but they were very impressed that I had already fixed a handful of computers and PCs, and found their number. And so they're like, well, since somebody paid for that part through us, otherwise they wouldn't have had our direct parts, that means that it's a that somebody paid for the use of that number. So we're just going to go ahead and help you out and just pretend that since you got our, like VIP number, we're going to help you out. So in the next 6 to 8 months, I had called many times. Well, and in like 4 to 6 months, I called a handful of. After day 2, I had my own landline in my own room, my own pod room. After I fixed the first couple computers, I had that whole pod room. It was a classroom size pod section room that was all storage. I had that as my shop, my lab that I had unstacked the desks that were stacked ceiling high in the corner, and that was my workspace. And after day 2, I had the teacher get the clearance to have the janitor, Mr. LaFleur, come install my personal outside phone line and bring me a phone. And the rest of the teachers in the school were mad because, first of all, he was the only teacher with his own phone line. The special needs teacher had one, but nobody else. And I spent a lot of time before school and in her class hanging out with her because she was teaching me private Spanish class lessons for before school, for helping her with some of the students and for other stuff. This is a nice lady, Mr. Carlos Armenides, Mr. Carlos Armenides, next door family, nice lady. But anyway, so I had got my own phone line, got my own classroom, and was able to get my own assistants out of class. And whenever I can talk them out of their, the teacher into letting them out. But otherwise, I had free range to do whatever I want as long as I turned in my work and passed it. But I was always did my stuff at home, and didn't got to do whatever I want. And so I got to work on the computers all day, and it was like a block scheduling at that time, so it was like 4 hours. But I had it like twice, so it was like 4 to 6 hours a day that I got to work on these computers for. And I did 2 years worth of 2 to 3 IT, 2 school years, they said, worth of IT work that would have taken 2 to 3 people, at that time, to diagnose all the computers, classify and diagnose, and to fix them all. And to set up, I networked 15 to 20 total computer labs through 4 or 5 school buildings. I was pushing carts like across the highway and down a road, to go install these in the other school buildings at 12, 13 years old, with one of the assistants that I got to get out of the class. And we were crossing a major highway with these computers to go install them in the other buildings. And I had them networked through the principal offices, print servers, and was running the Ethernet cable through the drop tile ceilings with the janitor's help. And I got to help with pushing a lot of that cable, and it was my project to run. So that was cool. And since then, millions of people have benefited by that. That had every single worker at Apple headquarters. There was like 440, let's say 444 at the time, since my number's 444. So we're going to say they had 444 workers at the time at headquarters. Every single one knew my name and knew my voice. And that's what impressed Steve so much, that he could not walk into a break room and not hear my voice or, them playing it. And so he said that I got level 5 clearance no matter where he's at on the property, which level 4, only his wife could get through, this lady. And level 5, nobody could get through. And I was the only person, I believe, at that time to ever get the level 5 clearance. And so if anywhere he was on the property, I would be patched through. And so, because I didn't call for like a month, because I didn't really need them as much after, calling for, a couple months. I had it figured out, and for the most part. So when I called, they're like, oh, we thought you didn't need us anymore. It's your special day. I was like, what do you mean it's my special day? Well, after day 3 of me calling, the 3rd time I called, I was like, well, how do you know it's Shane? You're a big company. You got a lot of people calling you. How do you know it's me? And they're like, well, you're the only, 12, 13-year-old with a Southern voice, Kentucky accent, from calling from Illinois, And so anyway, on the day that got Steve on the phone, she's like, you have a level 5 clearance. Nobody's ever had this. This is very special. That means he respects you very, very much. And you got a fan here, so you got to hold on for a minute because I'm going to have to track him down and patch you through. And, he came on the phone, and it was he had a pretty good, positive, excited energy, made me feel really good and special. How excited he was to, talk to me. I was like, yeah, it's great. But I didn't really understand at that point in time how significant and how special that phone call was, and how I didn't understand it until my angels showed me, ELB's Energy Light Beings Angels Soul be. When I was screaming, why me, why me, why me, out of the hundreds of hours, many times begging Father to strike me down, it pulled me out of my body multiple times and showed me why me. And one of the times they showed me that, and how that was the first time of many times they showed me of how I've elevated universal conscious and done such a important impact that it's unchangeable. Just by doing that, I had elevated human conscious 50 to 80 years, they said. Up to 200 years is total of my elevating of human conscious of my work. But it's about to shift completely as soon as my LexisNexis from Kentucky goes viral, and my one of my posts, one of my comment threads is going to hit a newspaper soon, and within 2 weeks, the country knows I'm here. No, 2 days, they said the country knows I'm here. 2 weeks, the world knows I'm here. And then, they said that after 2 weeks, and more people, they said Michael Jordan's pretty much the most known name in the world. More than Elon's shady ass. Anti-me. He's going down. Anyway, so Steve said that his time's worth $3,000 a minute. Cállate, cabrón. His time's worth $3,000 a minute, and that the person standing in front of him paid $25,000. And he was explaining how this guy's face was contortioning while he's sitting there on the phone with me, because he was worried that, he wasn't going to get to do his pitch, which Steve explained right there while he was talking to me, that he had already, accepted anybody that made it in front of them. He didn't let them come just to say no and take their money. He was saying that he had already made his mind up the night before when he was studying the guy's plan. But the guy was paying for FaceTime. That's what he called it. For somebody to just come face to face and talk to him. But he was teaching me, what his time was worth, $3,000 a minute. And at 19, my time was worth valued at $1,000 a minute when I was offered a writing contract, which would have been at the time 3 times higher than John Grisham and James Patterson's. They said, which at the time was like $2.40 a word. And mine would have been worth like $8.88 a word, is what it came down to, something like that. But anyway, so Steve said his time was worth $3,000 a minute, and this guy paid $25,000 for me to talk to him. And he said that he was very impressed that I had, fixed so many computers, and how blessed those people were. And then even more so, that he asked what high school I was going to, so he could make sure that they got new computers. And I said, well, I'm going to go to, I've got an option to go to this school called Stevenson, or I've got an option for a wrestling scholarship at Carmel. But, my whole family went to Libertyville and wrestled at Libertyville, so I'm going to go to Libertyville. And so he, called all those places, made sure that they all got lease programs for new computers, and hooked up the Hawthorne School with all new computers. So when I came to visit that cool teacher for the next couple years, he had, got me a standing ovation from all the students and the other ones, and said, hey, this is the one that got you guys those colored laptops that you get to take home. We didn't have colored stuff here, colored screens and stuff like that a couple of years ago. And they had carts in every pod in every room. They all had laptops and then tablets to take home. But I put Chicagoland on the map 10 to 15 years, is what Apple said, before they would have been doing the lease programs in the schools. So that had millions of people got better access to computers years before they would have. So that ultimately elevated universal consciousness. There has been, my angel showed me that there was like astronauts, NASA employees, like government employees for like every branch, that would not be as smart and where they are right now if it wasn't for me. And that made me feel good, So that was like when I finally started to learn to love and appreciate myself, and scream why me a little bit less, because now I know why me. But anyway, so yeah, that was a very special phone call that I will always remember, and and I've got definitely some questions on. I keep trying to get a hold of Apple. Actually, fucking UK, University of Kentucky, I told that story right there, trying to get a interview with the dean or the president, and his assistant had me arrested for being delusional, thinking that I was lying. Oh, I'm gonna sue them as soon as I get a hold of Apple and can confirm. Like where's Mr. Wozniak? He should remember me, and anybody alive that worked at Apple in 1995 area, 96, they will remember my voice, my name, Shane Michael, and they'll probably remember my name. They will remember me, but they might not remember my name, but they will remember me. And as soon as I can get that verified and proven, like maybe Mr. Wozniak, if he could make a video and say, yep, he did this, I would appreciate that, because then I'm gonna sue the cuss out of UK and get a free education out of it, and not be broken, starving, and stuck, and screwed over so bad. But yeah, I did 33 days in a hospital a couple months ago, which I've got now a lien on UK, which is over 60 days. So that's another lien that I'm pretty much winning. That I've got on the record in Kentucky. I've got an $8 billion lien on the state of Kentucky and Franklin County. I got a $24 million lien on my family, and all of these have matured in time. So pretty much on the state of Kentucky and my family, and a good chunk of UK now. But I will sue them, and it will be public. Thank you. Bless you. Rogue One. Bless me as I bless all.